Welcome to This Week in Warframe, a series where I keep you updated on the past week of Warframe, from announcements made by DE that don't necessarily warrant their own videos to community fan art, posts, and updates. So without further ado, let's go over De's announcements and news from the 25th of November to the 1st of December. Starting this week's episode off, we had Hotfix 24.1.2. Now for closed beta players, these are individuals who played and made their accounts prior to March 18th, 2013, you guys now have a new accolade on your profile, which shows closed beta player. It is in the similar location of the Warframe partner accolade as well. Now for console players, you guys also have this accolade, but it only applies to if you migrated your account from PC to console. This account migrated accolade will only appear on your console account. Now also in this hotfix were changes to Garuda. First off, Dread Mirror. They have added an 8-meter area of effect stagger when reaching a target with the Dread Mirror ability, and it is not affected by mods. They've also added a small noise improvement to the ability's shield. They have increased the enemy's insta-kill threshold from 35% to 40% enemy health. If you charge the Dread Mirror projectile in the air, you will now hover for a number of seconds. Dread Mirror and all of Garuda's abilities can now be made faster by applying the Natural Talent mod onto your Warframe. Now for Blood Altar, they have added an 8-meter area of effect stagger when impaling an enemy with the Blood Altar, which is not affected by mods similar to Dread Mirror, and they've also increased the Blood Altar heal radius from 6 meters to 8. For Seeking Talons, they have reduced the total Seeking Talons charge time by 33%. The ability's charge will now start faster and slow down as it expands. They have increased the minimum charge size from 15 degrees to 25 degrees, and they have also reduced the maximum charge size from 120 degrees to 95. And you can also charge Seeking Talons in the air, which will allow you to hover for a few seconds. Now that's it for Garuda changes, but as for the changes made in the hotfix to the overall game, they've made numerous performance optimizations to the overall game and K-drives. The servofish pass will now display which servofish they can be found from, and they've increased the Vega Toroid drop rate to make it in line with the other Toroids. The Orb Mothers excavator missions will now spawn excavators based off of how many players are within your squad. However, if you are playing in a full squad of 4, only 3 excavators will spawn. They have improved the bounty boards to refresh the next set of bounties straight away instead of having the delay. The chat will now auto-complete when attempting to link a Zaw, Mower Companion, K-Drive or Kit, and they have updated 2 Tennogen skins at the creator's request. They've also optimized Titania's Razor Wing ability sound, as well as the small frame time spikes that would occur periodically during gameplay. And they also made tweaks to improve the interpretation of the Corpus Hack panel states in the Orb Mothers, and the pacing of random enemy encounters and dropship reinforcements out on the Orb Mothers. For the conservation system, the conservation gear when tracking animals functions similar to the fishing gear. When tapping the bound key, it will auto-equip the respective item instead of having to hold the key down and reselect the key. Echo lures will no longer need to be equipped in your gear spiral. They are auto-equipped in the conservation gear when a trank is equipped. And they've also increased the fire rate of the trank rifle so that it enters the reload state faster. As for the fixes for the conservation system and this hotfix, they are up on your screen. There was also hotfix 24.1.2.1, which just changed the mower money, mower problems challenge to read configure to stay consistent with the legs prompt. There was also fixes made in this little hotfix as well. Moving on though, we had a Nyx and Titania developer workshop, so outlining the changes that will be coming to those 2 frames in a future update. First off is Nyx. So her passive is now an accuracy debuff, so nearby enemies will have a chance to miss Nyx when within the passive range. For mind control, it still takes over the target, however you will have a 4-second period at which you can fire into them and increase their damage output. As for Psychic Bolts, it is no longer a flat damage ability, and instead it is now a debuff that will reduce the affected enemy shields and armor, or in the case of infested, the speed. For the Absorb ability, it will do the exact same as it does at the moment, but instead of being a magnetic damage ability, it is based off of the damage that the ability itself absorbs. As for the Titania ability, they're basically reducing the cast times required, so in the case of Tribute, you will now receive the maximum buff straight away instead of having to build it up. The Dust buff will stay the same, that being that it will reduce enemy accuracy by 50%. For Thorns, this buff allows 50% of the damage incoming to be reflected back at the attacker. Entangle is once again staying the same. One Entangle Tribute will slow an enemy by 25%, and for Full Moon, the 75% damage buff will now apply to all companions and your Razor Wing butterflies. For the ability Lantern, it can now be cast on up to 4 targets, with better tethering between victims, and you can also have the choice to explode all of your targets. And as for Razor Wing, it now has a vacuum to acquire loot easier. These are all the changes that have been presented. If you do want to read it for yourself, everything that I've talked about so far, and for the rest of the video, will be linked in the description down below. Now, there is also a Captura contest going on again. In this case, you will need to make a less than 2-minute video of a Captura battle scene without any editing from outside sources. It has to be straight from the Captura tool. You then have to upload that to YouTube or any video site and then share it onto the forum post, and make sure you don't reserve a post, which means making a post and then adding that link to the video at a later date. You will have up until December 13th at 1 PM Eastern Time to submit your entry. First place will get a custom statue of your battle scene by C-Not Bushk, as well as a Chroma Prime access. If you don't know who he is, I'll leave a link to all of his statues and work in the comment section down below. And second place will get a custom statue of the Warframes bust by the same person, as well as 100 platinum. Third place will get a Chroma Prime access. Fourth place, 1000 platinum. And fifth place, 750 platinum. Make sure to read the full forum post so you know exactly what's going on. Now, D.E. Taylor also made a reply to a post about the Oxylus, and there will be changes coming to that Sentinel in the future of the game as well. D. Rebecca also made a post to announce that the next Devstream, that being Devstream 120, will be on December 7th. And for PlayStation players, you can now purchase Renown Pack 14 from the market, which includes the Skoliak as well as the Skoliak Obsidian skin, the Obsidian Azura Sugatra, and 170 platinum. Now, on the Nintendo Switch Warframe livestream, they did state that Nintendo Switch will have Tennogen launching in the future of their updates, which will include Grax skins, Nova skins, Wukong, and more, and it'll be a collection of the multiple rounds PC and consoles have received already. They also said that the Atlas Deluxe skin will come in 2019. Now, released earlier, we did have an interview between Tactical Potato and D.E. Scott, and most of what I'll be saying is paraphrasing, so if you do want to watch the video, if you want to know exactly what he said, because I will be picking between information that isn't already known, so if you want to know exactly everything he said, make sure to watch the full 55-minute video. Anyway, to begin, there are currently 6 Warframes in the development queue, with each of them in different stages of the development phase, not including Prime Warframes. Scott also said that they are in talks about adding the conservation system into the planes of Eidolon. Orb Mothers will also have a similar setup to Heist, and they will be released periodically instead of being a full bundled release of each of the 3 Orb Mothers. So to reiterate, all 3 Orb Mothers won't be activated at the same time, and instead will be activated over periods of time, similar to the Terrorlist, the Hydralist, and the Gauntlist, as they do also want to build up the lore behind each of these Orb Mothers. Scott was also asked about the Riven Stat Locking system that players have been requesting, and he did state that it's completely off the table, as they believe having the ability to lock powerful stats and roll for more powerful stats can affect the development of enemy difficulty, and they would have to balance around Rivens and the power creep that comes with them. Riven Disposition Changes may become more regular in nature. Scott was also asked about the standing cap, and his response was along the lines of it's for the developers, and the obvious one is to stop players breezing through all the content they just released. He did provide a scenario that occurred with the Orb Valis release, and that came in the form of the K-Drive races. In this case, there were players that could get extreme points just by spamming the X button while on high ping, which gained their standing. Now, because they had the cap, that means that didn't max out his K drive standing in the first day and spread it to the rest of the community. So it is there to prevent the players from going through content straight away, as well as stopping exploits and maintaining the bugs that they can fix within a reasonable amount of time. Scott was also questioned about the Stalker mode, and they are still debating about how they will implement the system into the game. There is also the possibility of more Zaw and Kit-Gun variants coming into the game as well. Scott also commented on the idea of fixing old systems before making new content, and to paraphrase, he is happy with the balance that the developers have at the moment of work. Now, Scott also said that there is no current plans for a Chroma rework or adjustments, as it was previously stated by DE Megan, presenting the same information a couple months back. And that concludes the important information that was revealed in this interview. Now on to developer tweets. We only have one this week, and that came from Steve himself, just saying that they're improving upon the console build of Fortuna, and they're still working on it, but there is still no set date for its release or certification. Anyway, that concludes the information part of this video. Now we go into community fan art. First off, we have Valentina-Paz with Lupu, which is a nice fan art of the recently released Lupu helmet for Loki. Jarranna also made an Octavia fan art with Octavia meets Venom, and it's definitely an interesting piece to say the least. We also had Dance by Healing Pack 013, a nice minimalistic take on Nidus and Titania. We then have Princess Ivara by MissMarifire, Vox Solaris by ES Galar, Warframe Order of Prophet by Dirthoad's Boat, and Warframe Excalibur by W. Garuda. Anyway, that concludes this week in Warframe. If you found the video informative, make sure to leave a like. If you think I can improve upon the series in any way, shape, or form, make sure to leave it in a comment section down below. Now, if you missed out on last week's episode, make sure to click the annotation on the screen right now. It'll take you right to it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.